you play into skill capped. And I think if that's the comp to beat, Reload Esports is going to be the team to beat. And I've just been really impressed with their prep work, and I feel like this team has put a ton of effort to actually win this thing. So we'll see how they end up doing. That's who I'm going with for this one, but any one of these teams could win. I'm really curious to see for this game one between Skill Capped EU and Method EU what the blind pick looks like.
It is so true. 4 teams have been doing absolutely incredible, and that is why we are seeing them here today in the finals. But this first match of the day is going to get started here at Skill Capped EU versus Method EU, game number 1.
All right, so we're going to see the Rogue Mage Priest here from Method EU, and Skill Capped going to be leading with their Shadow Priest Mage. So this kind of tells me already here that Method, they have not been prioritizing their Shadow Priest Mage. They are kind of ducking the mirror here because, you know, Tessia and Zuniaki, this is their comp. This is why they brought them on the roster, to have that composition. So they're going to be going with the RMP, and they're going to have to play very aggressive here, get a good opener. They're going to be going onto Frofsy here potentially. Who's going to go in with the cheap shot. Nice Dragon's Breath there onto Tessia. Maro trying to shut the situation down. Frofsy still taking some damage, but now finally going to come out of the stun using his Panda Racial right there. And one Shadow Man, and he is going to be completely fine. They didn't have to use basically any real cooldowns here, and now it's Skill Capped's turn to get aggressive.
We've seen months of gameplay. This is the final culmination of Season 1 between these teams. Their last opportunity here on Championship Saturday for Europe to really crown themselves and take the Lions' share of the prize pool. Method EU are playing a composition that they have not yet played in tournament play with the Holy Priest variants. So they are experimenting here, even in the Grand Finals, whereas Skill Capped are playing a composition that has been dominating team after team. Will the experimentation of Method EU be enough to overcome the Titans that are Skill Capped? They're chasing down Asgrath at the moment, trying to engage crowd control, but they're intercepted by polymorphs, finally finding a kidney shot. They're going to swap over to the Paladin and make a huge power play onto the healer. How much are they going to get from it, though, is the question. Not too much. Asgrath's going to be able to shake off that swap quite easily, not having to use any of his main priority cooldowns. And now we see Skill Capped getting aggressive with polymorphs on Chaz and Tessia as the target.
Yeah, let's see what they can get done. Right now, Tessia just going to be out of line of sight, and it looks like he should be okay. Asgrath into a polymorph right now, and honestly, I feel like Method EU, they need to try to get something going. Here's a decent setup onto Asgrath. Can they get the Divine Shield? Big damage incoming! He is going to have to use it, and he's actually using the Guardian, or the Legendary, that gives him a bit of a cheat death effect there as well, so they shred through that, they get the Divine Shield. That's a big win for Method EU, and that's exactly what they needed, because I would say they were a bit behind in terms of getting defensive cooldowns up until that point. And now Asgrath's going to be a great target for them to go after. You can see Waz looking to reconnect, potentially looking for a re-stealth, but Maro and Frosty not going to allow him to at this point. A full blind goes out. They're going after Frosty. They're trying to bait a trinket. Asgrath basically has no choice. He cannot trinket this blind, otherwise he'll have no defensive cooldowns left whatsoever. It's going to be up to Frosty to survive, but they get the dispersion. They might force Asgrath's hand. If they could do that, it would be huge for Method EU, but they greed it out, and as a result, Skill Capped EU is going to be looking really, really good. That was a great play there by Frosty to allow Asgrath to hold onto that precious trinket.
Yeah, very nice defense there from Skill Capped, but now Method have options here. They don't have to go on Asgrath anymore. They can do another setup on the Frosty, and that's exactly what they're going to do. He has no dispersion here. This has got to be Asgrath's trinket. He's going to trinket and trade out the sacrifice, and now he's also off stun DR, so if they want to, they can swap to Asgrath. He's in the middle of the map, but right now, nice offensive setup here. Waz taking a lot of damage. Shaz in a silence. Waz is going to trinket out and trade out his Cloak of Shadows right there, but they were able to get that big objective. They got Asgrath trinket, and Frosty has no dispersion here, and he does have his trinket, but no void shift, so he could trinket fade this next setup, potentially go for a master spell, but still not in the best situation here. They could keep this momentum going here on the Prophecy if they can get some. Ooh, nice! That was a beautiful blessing of protection by Asgrath on the smoke bomb right there, completely negating why is the smoke bomb right there.
All right, well, is it going to try and set up regardless of that blessing of protection? Frosty trades that fade. No dispersion and no fade. Waz has Shadow Blades and Shadowy Duel, but he's on the back foot. He can't recover. He's behind the pillar, trying to re-stealth with Vanish, popping out his Crimson Vial and healing up for a small amount. Actually just trying to sit down and eat to regenerate health. But now they're swapping to his healer, Chaz. Can he get back in time to save him? Down to half health here in a War Stomp, but Chaz looks like he should likely recover himself at least. Pulling Waz back into the fight. Waz is out in midfield, getting blasted out. He's going to trade Feint, stuns Asgrath, moves over to Frosty, but Maro is toasting him at the moment. Chaz trades out the Guardian Angel, Asgrass still in crowd control, but no follow-up, unfortunately. Method EU are the ones that are struggling to really get their footing. Wads is going to Door of Shadows back to the pillar. Buy time for Method EU. Another main advantage of running the Holy Priest for Method EU is that Chaz's mana is still sitting at a healthy margin. If they had been running the Discipline variant, which is so commonly run, they would definitely be in a worse position here. So Method EU's strategy is going to be safe for the late game, as well as still have potential in the early game, and they're going to really need to bank on this composition to be able to best skill cap.
I mean, this is what they prepared, right? They're going after Asgrath. Can they take him down? He gets script away. Frosty looking for a Shadowman. He gets interrupted. Beautifully done there. But it looks like Asgrath might be able to hold on. The damage kind of has run out here for Method EU. This setup should be over, but they get the Blessing of Protection. They get the Life Grip from Frosty. Another nice setup coming in for Method EU, and slowly but surely they're doing well. Oh, Wasp getting absolutely destroyed! He had 1 second left on his Cloak of Shadows. That was unbelievable. I mean, we're going to see that in the replay, but Skill Cap EU, they're going to be happy to walk away with that burst kill, put the first point on the board. They're looking good so far in this series.
Wow, that is so unlucky. His cloak icon literally flashed up as he died right there. And I mean, for skill cap, this is so important. This is kind of the El Clasico of Europe here, you know, skill cap and Method. So much history, always competing against each other, you know, in the finals. And getting that first blood here is going to be so important if they decide to start swapping these comps around. But we're going to see it right here as well. So, I mean, at this point, it actually looked pretty good. They had that setup on Asgrath. They're about to do it right here, I think. And they get that Blessing of Protection. They actually get him quite low here with this Combustion. So there's a full blind. And then they get a Fear on Frosty, Sheep on Morrow, Combustion. Very clean go here. They counterspell the Shadowman. There's the Blessing of Protection. They get the Battle Master as well as the Protection Legendary right there. And I was just looking for a restep. Look at his Cloak of Shadows there under his icon.
Oh,
6 seconds
wow.
left on it. They get... What is the crowd control of the Chaz here? He gets silenced, Hammer of Justice, and then he's just dead. 1 second left on the cloak.
That is... I mean, after that kill, Wash just put his hands up in the air. I mean, that's got to be a tilter. So what we need to see from Method EU, if they want to, you know, stay in this series, they need to keep their composure, because got to be a frustrating loss. They were looking good in that one. 1 second away from that Cloak of Shadows actually finishing and being able to survive that setup. But I feel like for them, they just have to shake off that loss and continue to put their best foot forward, because honestly, the Holy Priest RMP looked like it could actually contend with what Skill Cap EU is running.
Yeah, we'll have to see here if they do continue on that path, but Skill Cap EU taking that very first victory, and you guys are right. I mean, that you know, your entire season has been leading up to this moment. You haven't faced off against each other in so long, and then you lose that first game in such a way. Definitely a difficult, frustrating situation to be in. You know, we can look at the Skill Cap versus Method EU record in their history. They've got a 5-3 match record, with Skill Cap winning 5 games and Method EU only winning 3. So kind of even since they've faced each other, but at the moment it looks like Method EU down already 1 game, so we're going to head into that draft soon. And I mean, what's our best option here? Do you think Method EU tries that once again, that same count that we saw in that blind pick then?
I don't think it's much of a surprise for Method EU what Skill Cap was going to be running, so I think it's likely they go to kind of just a neutral map for this one. Skill Cap will likely just lock in the Shadow Priest Mage Paladin once again, and we'll just end up seeing the exact same matchup play out. The problem is, for Method EU, is I feel like the Holy Priest Rogue Mage, Skill Cap has some answers for that. So unless they can win a swing match, I think this is going to be a really difficult series here for Method, as Skill Cap, I think, has some solid options into what they're running. But for this game number 2, I think it's likely neutral map and same compositions.
And you know, it's a little bit of a different shift since we're so used to being in that round robin for such a long time. If you lose this game, you're dropped down to the lower bracket, and it's not like a qualifying cup where, you know, there's teams down there that you could probably easily beat. It's going to be like, yeah. It's going to be either Creed or Reload Esports, so it's definitely not a situation you want to be in, getting knocked out down to that lower bracket so early, because it's going to be a really difficult road back to grand finals, because that's where, you know, every team obviously wants to be. So lots of pressure here on Method EU. Losing that first game could potentially be detrimental, as we've seen when two teams are so close to each other and it goes to a game 5. Sometimes that blind pick, winning it, is the difference between winning and losing a series. We're seeing Skill Cap lock in that comp here, and we are going to hook point Super Tees.
I think that makes sense if Method EU's strategy is going to be taking down the Holy Paladin. They're copying some NA over here. NA is leaking
What?
into EU a bit. It's not normal. This is not normal. This doesn't happen very often. Method EU are going to be taking the Golden Guardians trademark composition. That's the move.
I
Zuniaki
love
on
this.
Shadow Priest, Waz on Rogue, Chaz on Restoration Shaman.
I love this. I'm a big fan of this pick. I think this composition on this map is really gonna make Skill-Capped work for a win. In terms of mana, they should be extremely good on mana until later on in the game. I think the Assassination Rogue with the Shadow Priest is going to be able to put out a lot of pressure. I think it's going to be Morrow in particular who's going to be kind of tunneled down and taken down potentially in this match if he's not careful. The double offensive Dispel from Zuniaki and Chaz. I think Method EU, this is a really intelligent pick by them.
All right, coming in with that second composition. Let's see what they do here on Hook Point. Much smaller map as well. Then now that we're seeing the choices here, Zico, do we feel like this goes to a game 5? I mean, these two teams are very close.
I mean, we're gonna have to see. They can pick the Golden Guardians comp, but they're still gonna have to, prove that they know what they're doing on it. I think there's a reason why there's so few teams that actually run the Rogue Shadow Priest. It's pretty hard to play. You need to get that momentum. And against most comps, you don't have the burst damage to be the team that gets the initial momentum. But as soon as you do get that momentum, you need to be really good at keeping it. As soon as the target that you're hitting gets healed up, you can see like a Peekaboo in the Golden Guardians already taking down a healer to very low HP, and you can kind of keep that momentum going until you land a kill. So for Method, I mean, this is an intelligent pick, and I guess this is what they've been preparing here for the finals, because these teams, they've had about 2 weeks now since they qualified for the finals here to prepare something and knowing the matchup then.
Is this the first time we've seen Waz and Zuniaki play together? Not ever, but in Shadowlands? I feel like it's always Waz. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm really happy that they decided to do this, because I think it's a good choice for them. Actually, they did play Warrior. They played Warrior Shadow Priest as well. So, yeah. But it's nice to see Waz and Zuniaki play together. I mean, those two players, they have a lot of history going back a really long time. So hopefully some of that synergy they built once upon a time ago still going to be there for this one. But I think they got the right idea.
Yeah, I think both of these teams is definitely feeling. Well, I would assume I'm feeling a little bit nervous here in this series already. Skill-Capped taking that game number 1 victory. Method EU coming out with this new composition in game number 2. So no matter what side you're on, I feel like it's already the pressure is on these teams. Game number 2, Hook Point, Skill-Capped up 1-0.
All right, it's going to be pretty interesting to see here. I kind of agree with Van here. I think they're going to be going after the mage. They have that double offensive purge. If you can get those triune barriers off the mage, you can definitely take him down quickly. A lot of that defense that the mage has is kind of dispellable. You can mass dispel the ice block. You can remove alter time. You can remove the shield. So if they can get that good momentum going, I can see Method here being able to potentially ride that momentum and get a win on by killing Morrow. But I think on the side of Skill-Capped, they can definitely do some tricks of their own. I think Chaz as well is going to have to make sure to stay out of crowd control as much as possible. Chaz gets crowd controlled, I think they can definitely take him down, maybe even take Waz down.
Let's see if North America's strategies will work out here in Europe. I wasn't expecting this much surprise from Method EU. I thought that we would see some more standard compositions, but they are just breaking everything out of the woodwork to try and find a way to beat Skill-Capped, the undefeated Goliath of Europe, going 7-0 in circuit play to the European finals here today. Method EU substituting in Zuniaki, and it's going to be quite a treat to watch Zuniaki, kind of the Shadow Priest legend, go up against Frofsy, who I feel like the last time we really saw him was only a few expansions ago. He's kind of been out of it for a while, but he's jumped in and he's bought Skill-Capped victory after victory after victory. He's almost always the top of the meter in terms of damage. Method EU on the back foot already, having to trade Zuniaki's precious dispersion, but he does manage to recover with a quick Shadow Mend around the corner, trying to load out some damage over time effects onto Frosty and Morrow, landing a double Psychic Scream. looking as though he wants to move towards Asgarath, but still just sitting on Frosty. Mind Game's going to connect. Asgarath dispels that. Hex on tomorrow. Good crowd controlled by Method EU. However, no follow-up. Asgarath easily now going to recover. And Zuniaki with no medallion is susceptible here. No dispersion for another minute. If Morrow can manage to reset that combustion, although it seems like it's going to be still quite a ways away. He's going to have to get a ton of fireballs if he wants to reset that.
Ooh. Really nice job there by Waz. There's a double Dragon's Breath from Morrow on Zuniaki and Chaz, and Waz shadow steps over and shuts down the sheep. Really important, but Zuniaki right now in a little bit of trouble. Preemptive Earthen Wall by Chaz deflects a lot of that attack, so really nicely done by Chaz on that Shaman. We don't see him play Shaman too often, but so far been doing a great job. And it looks like the strategy here for the side of Method is they just want to put as much pressure as they can on Frosty, trying to limit that damage. Just put tons of crowd control on Morrow. So lots of hexes. The fact that they don't have a hex dispel for Morrow is really, really good for Method EU, as long as they can land that crowd control. Smoke bomb attempt here onto Frosty. They get the greater fade, but not much more, unfortunately, for Method EU. If we look at mana, they are starting to develop a little bit of a lead, and I feel like Method EU, if they can just keep up this pressure, make sure they deny Morrow from getting these setups and put the crowd control on him, and don't allow Asgarath to drink, that's going to be a great win condition for Method EU to come back in this series.
Yeah, nice avoidance here by Zuniaki as well, activating the fade right there. But now they could get a sheep here. Maru's looking for it. I think he's going to get it. No, the sheep Zuniaki, they're going after Chaz here. No trinket. He's just dead.
Oh my
What an
goodness.
amazing swap. And that's a little bit what we talked about there in the pregame. Chaz is the target here. If they get a CC onto Chaz and then they go for it, they can easily take him down on that Shaman. That's exactly what they did. Zuniaki thought that he was going to be the target there. And I mean, I did too. But then they just kind of flipped the script there. They got a DR Fear onto Chaz, sheep Zuni instead of Chaz, and they took him down. That was amazing.
Wow. I mean, that kind of burst damage is crazy. Skill cap to you, they are looking absolutely unstoppable here, and we can see it in the replay, Zico.
Yeah, I mean, here they drop the smoke bomb, and they don't actually even get a dispersion. But the interesting thing here is Zuniaki has no trinket, Chaz has no trinket, but Zuniaki is going to have his dispersion coming back up here, and he has his fade here. So now they they Ring of Frost Chaz. Zuniaki is going to activate his fade here because he thinks Asgarath wants to Hammer of Justice him. But Asgarath actually just holding on to it because now Zuniaki doesn't have fade. And here, look at this door of Shadows right there.
So
Frosty
nice.
gets a double, then he gets a double fear. Maru blinks in, gets the sheep onto Zuniaki, and that's just it. The only one who can save the day here is Waz, but Maru just ice blocks out of that silence, and that's it, you know? So very, very nice setup there. That was a perfect setup from Skill Captain. They take him down in 2 minutes.
I love that door. I mean, we really don't see that. That door Shadows doing work there, getting the double disorient into the double fear, basically a perfect setup from Skill Capped. And I mean, that's why this team is so scary, because not only are they playing a great comp that they're phenomenal at, but they're willing to go on anyone at any time. I mean, they just see these opportunities, they go after it, and they execute. And it's really a beauty to watch.
Are they gonna? What? I mean, they're already up 2-0. They could 3-0 this series. Like, are we gonna see Skill Capped just take the entire circuit and the finals without? I mean, I know it's only 2 games in, but it's like they've continued on their streak of just being completely dominating in this region, and I feel like I almost worry a little bit that we're gonna see them not drop a single series in 5 cups in a row. I mean, that'd be wild.
I mean, you're worried.
It's
They're
possible.
not. They're happy about that.
Yeah, definitely.
They're pretty stoked.
I mean, this team is just that. I mean, my God, they could be 3-0ing Method EU here in the first game for the European finals, and that would put them up in a very good position so far. But Method EU, they can't lose this next game, or they are dropping down to that lower bracket. And like I already said, it's either going to be Reload Esports or Creed down there, both also very strong teams. So far, this is really not looking good for Method EU.
I mean, one thing I want... go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wonder now, because what do you do now? You played RPS. That was like your homework composition, your counter pick. You're going to pick a small map and play the RPS, and you just got completely rocked. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to pick the same thing and make mid-game adaptations? Are you going to go back to RMP? Are you going to mirror? Like, what do you do with your method?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. The one thing that's really interesting for me in terms of Method, and I want everyone to keep this in mind, is Method EU, they play the same comp as Skill Cap EU. They could just go into a mirror match if they wanted to. Like, but they feel like this is a better option for them. I don't know if that's true. It's kind of interesting to me that they went for such a large map. I feel like this is almost going to backfire, because now the thing is, as the Shadow Priest Mage Paladin, I actually think this is a really bad pick for Method EU, because I think it's going to allow Asgrath a lot more freedom to kite away and go for drinks. And also, I think it's going to allow skill capped EU to just run. Like, they can just run if they need to. If they're ever in trouble, they can just pull away, drag Chaz into the middle of the map. And I think this was a mistake. They lost on the smallest map, but I think it's going to be a little bit different. I feel like it's going to be harder for skill capped EU to get these kind of one-shot setups onto Chaz, but at the same time, I feel like they actually could win in the late game very easily also on this map.
Yeah, this is completely new territory for Method EU. That last game, that was the first time that we did see that composition on the broadcast for them in Shadowlands. They played it one time before. They played it with a Sub-Rogue and a Holy Paladin, and also that's the first time that we've seen Waz on the Assassination Rogue. So kind of interesting that they're playing it in the finals for the first time, basically, especially against a team like Skill-Capped for the first match of the day. I mean, they did have a little bit of time to prepare for this, Zico, but I feel like that just feels like so risky to bring out a new composition. I mean, clearly they think it's their only option, though. Otherwise, we'd be seeing something a little bit more comfortable for them.
Well, this is the finals. This is the time to take the risks. Unless you're skill capped. If you're skill capped, you just keep doing what you're doing. You already perfected the circuit.
Yeah.
But if you're anybody else, this is the time to bring out the crazy compositions like this. And I mean, I like that this is what they decided. Okay, we're going to practice RPS. We're going to have two mains. We're going to have Chaz. He plays every healer. And we're going to have a solid team there that we can do something with. I like the idea. Now, it seems like they don't know the matchup that well, because first they picked the smallest map, and on the smallest map, well, I mean, Chaz can get crowd controlled and then swap to it. I mean, I said it in the start, and that's pretty much what happened as well. Obviously, didn't expect it to go down that fast, but they kind of learned their lesson there, and now they're going to test the big map. But I completely agree with Ben here. Asgrath can just run away and keep drinking. Frofsy and Mara can keep them in combat, and they can just win by running, honestly, on the side of skill capped. And they can set up kills on Waz as well by kiting him out in the open. So I just feel like skill capped, they're very comfortable right now.
I think Waz is likely going to be the most vulnerable in this matchup on this map. They're going to start the fight with a Hex on Morrow and go after Frofsy. Both Waz and Zuniaki have loaded out a ton of damage, but Asgrath, you see him in the far back left hand of your screen, just casting Holy Lights out of line of sight. Perfect positioning, avoiding any crowd control while Frofsy is taking some damage. Morrow blinks in for a Polymorph, gets Wind Sheared, but then Soul Shapes for a Dragon's Breath. Trinkets for a Polymorph, gets stunned on it. Great shutdown by Zuniaki here amidst all of that crowd control, but they still managed to find a Polymorph. Here comes the Combustion. They're going after Waz. Waz quickly vanishing from sight, trying to avoid any incoming damage from the remainder of that Combustion, and manages to survive. Now setting up damage. Smoke Bomb power play onto Frosty, but Waz is still low on health, on match point here for Method EU, but they do at least net the dispersion of Frosty. They're going to get a little bit of the cooldowns from skill cap, but there's still a lot more to go, and Waz has just not been healthy this entire time. Hammers are flying in, channeling the Fleshcraft to try and absorb some incoming damage, but even with that, still dipping below half health. Hex on Tomorrow should likely slow down some of the damage, but Chaz just is seemingly unable to recover through the damage. Frosty positions out into the wizard corner. This is going to expose Method EU to a lot of crowd control.
Yeah, Morrow gets shut down on the Dragon's Breath Polymorph. Nicely done. Can he get the Polymorph? He finds it! Chaz doesn't get out of line of sight. And a Hammer of Justice on Waz. He could just get dropped. That's going to be the Gladiator's Medallion as well as the Cloak of Shadows. This is a disaster for Method EU. Waz has just been hit so hard in this match so far. Constantly under pressure. It's been a nightmare for Chaz to keep him alive. Method EU, they need to kind of come back in this matchup, but it's been difficult. This large map is definitely backfiring. They're going after Frosty. Frosty gets interrupted. Greater Fade's going to be coming in, but look at Asgrath. He's just positioned so far away, and if Chaz wants to heal Waz, he's going to have to expose himself in the midfield. Frosty, though, in a kidney shot. Big damage, and that's going to be the Blessing of Protection. I think that was not the Vendetta, though. Method U, they strike back in a big way, and they might be able to actually take down Frosty once that Vendetta's back off cooldown.
Honestly, you got to give it out to Chaz here. He's been playing a great game so far, but now he gets caught up in crowd control. The trinket's out. He does get the dispel there onto Waz, and he should be able to keep him alive with that. Very nicely done, but now he has to pre-Spirit Link that next setup. Chaz has been doing a great job, honestly, so far, getting hexes on Maro, pre-avoiding a lot of these crowd controls with groundings and things like that. So Chaz has been doing a great job, and he's playing the healing rain build as well. So whenever he's standing in a healing... Oh, but now this could be trouble. Zuniaki has to go for the Shadow Man. No, he gets stopped. Waz still in stealth. 1 second left. He's going to be able to get the swap. He does get the swap, but that was way too close for Comfort right now. And we are basically just 3 minutes in. Skillcap have basically all of their cooldowns left. Things are definitely spiraling out of control. Maro ice blocks offensively here, trying to finish out the game here, Sid.
Yeah, but look at the mana. If Method EU can just stay alive, they're winning so heavily on mana, they could just overwhelm Frofsy, but their defense is so limited here. How is Chaz going to get to Waz? He's trying to cross the map, but Waz is going to pre-Fleshcraft. I don't think he hit the Hammer of Justice. Askrath was patient, held on to it. He's not going to be immune by the ultimate form. Now waiting for the opportunity. If Maro comes out of this crowd control, it could be the end of the game as he's waiting for this Hex to subside. He's going to go for the game-winning setup. 5 seconds away from that Trinket Cloak of Shadows. They fear Maro out of the Hex. They're trying to stall for that Medallion of Waz, and they've managed to stall long enough now. Shadow Step kick onto Frofsy, and Chaz is still trying to avoid crowd control, but Maro's got him pinned at the pillar with a Ring of Frost. Polymorph has been secured. Zuniaki fades the crowd control. Mass dispels the Polymorph, setting his team out of crowd control and getting them right back on target. Asgrass mana is a flimsy 10% at this point. They're dogpiling on top of Chaz at the moment, but he's sitting in his healing rain. He can just dispel the crowd control. Great positioning by Method EU. They managed to survive that dire situation. Now they have medallions coming off cooldowns. They've got options to work with, but Asgrath is drinking. That was their main win condition, was Asgrass mana. They need to stop this. They stop it, but he got a tiny bit more to keep this going. Smoke Bomb is going to force the dispersion from Frofsy, opening up an opportunity for the Vendetta and Shadow Fiend of Zuniaki in the near future. They're still just powering down Frofsy with raw pressure. Method EU are focusing on dodging crowd control and dealing damage, and Skillcapped need to navigate through their defense soon.
No! Maro misses the Dragon's Breath. That's so unfortunate. That could have been a huge play, as Waz is just so overextended at this point. Definitely unfortunate there. Skillcapped EU, they're going to have to figure out a different way to get crowd control. There is the Psychic Core onto Chaz. Is there any more? No, unfortunately, Maro not able to find a Polymorph. And honestly, the setups have been a little bit sloppy here from Skillcapped in the last little bit. You can tell they're kind of feeling the pressure. Vendetta rolling here for Waz. At the same time, Zuniaki might get dropped. Big combustion there from Maro. They get the dispersion. And now Zuniaki, he really doesn't have any defensive cooldowns left. He might still get dropped. He's in the open. Maro still has a little bit of damage left with that combustion. A little bit scary. At the same time, Frosty taking some pressure. Asgrath sitting down for a drink. Frosty's got no cooldowns. Both of these Shadow Priests are incredibly vulnerable at this point in the game.
Waz has blind. Asgarath has no trinket and no blessing of protection. If Waz presses blind, that's going to be a divine shield, and potentially they can take down Asgarath. They can do the classical, the move, rotating that pressure around. But right now, Frofsy doesn't have dispersion, doesn't have too much to work with, so they're just going to keep going for him. Chaz still standing in that healing rain, trying to get some crits from that healing rain to dispel himself, but he actually gets feared out into a Dragon's Breath. Maru does get shut down, though, on the poly attempt, but Chaz dispels, and that's going to allow Maru to land the sheep here. Frofsy definitely needed that now to get aggressive here, as he was on the back foot for the longest time right there. Maru going to get sheeped up, feared up, potentially into a Hex here. Chaz looking for it, but he has Counterspell, full Hammer of Justice onto Waz, but still getting good heals there. Zuniaki as well, offering some backup there, and now Zuniaki getting aggressive here with the Mind Blast, looking for the Mind Games here, and that's going to be the dispersion, but he has Mind Games on him. Ascraft dispels it though, and that's going to allow the dispersion to keep healing there. Honestly, Ascraft's mana is looking pretty good, but cooldowns are not looking good. He gets Shadow Step kicked. They could just blind him out of that kick right now and potentially get the Divine Shield here, but actually, Waz has already used his blind here, so not going to be able to do that anymore. And it's going to be Skillcapped here again, running for the heals. And I think as long as Ascraft can keep his mana up, I think they're going to be in a good spot. But so far, I would say Method actually are in the lead here.
This is the best position we've seen Method EU the entire series. They just need to keep going a little bit longer. Can they manage to do so? Waz doesn't feel comfortable trinketing and trading Cloak of Shadows for the Shadow Priest cooldowns. Shadow Step kick onto the Polymorph, but a Dragon's Breath for follow-up, and Waz is still dipping low. Zuniaki picks him up with the heal. Zuniaki charging in for a Psychic Scream. Zuniaki going for the hard carry, trying to fake out the Mind Games, gets through the counter spell, but now he's Polymorphed out of line of sight. Waz is dangerously low on match point. Going for the Vanish, gets the Sap out of the crowd control. Asgrath has to Divine Shield. Sick plays by Waz, despite the situation being dicey. Will he be able to stay aggressive and on target? Asgrath has to trade Sacrifice. redirecting damage to himself. The pressure of Method EU is slowly but surely becoming an overwhelming situation for Skill Capped if they can stay afloat a little bit longer, but the Psychic Scream is pausing the fight, and now Asgrath is charging in. He's got the Hammer of Justice available. Are they going to go for it? They interrupt the Fleshcraft. Asgrath just repositioning to go for a drink. Zuniaki goes for a Mind Games. They're just going to kill Frosty if Asgrath tries to drink. Smoke Bomb once again forcing dispersion from Frosty. The pressure has denied Asgrath from his drink, though. They're going for crowd control. No one has a medallion. Zuniaki needs to save the day. What can Zuniaki really do here? Void Shift comes up in 2 seconds. He's powering Shadow Men's out one after another. Void Shift's off cooldown. He needs to trade it.
What?
He doesn't make the trade. Skill Capped EU take it 3-0.
Skill Capped EU looking absolutely dominant in this series. I mean, that was an incredibly close third game, but honestly, a 3-0, I really was not expecting this, and